And hello again, everyone. I'm Chris Lincoln. Welcome to Oklahoma Sports Scene. Welcome back inside the WeShoot Ice Center, home of our Tulsa Ice Oilers here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Here's this week's show lineup packed with football for you. Here's the Tulsa just named its new head football coach, Trey Lamb, coming over from Gardner-Webb, where he had his team in 2 FCS playoffs coming up. We'll meet him. Also, college football playoff now set with 12 games ready to be played. And this weekend we'll have a conference championship series to talk about, look back on. OSSAA handed out 6 gold footballs for high school champions this past week. Michael Knight was there covering all of it at UCO in Edmond, Oklahoma. He'll be there again this week as they have part 2 with 6 more state high school championships. And 3 of Oklahoma high school football coaching powers are making head coaching changes, including Union's Kirk Frederick, who joined us here on set after his retirement announcement. University of Central Oklahoma had a championship football season. Finally, one of our schools did in the state. We'll hear about it from the Broncos head coach, Adam Dorrel. And this Saturday, December 14th, it's the final game of the 2024 college football regular season traditional Army-Navy 125th game. In Landover, Maryland, former Army head football coach Todd joins us to talk about what makes this game so special. But first, let's review the college football conference championships and then the 12-team college football playoff schedule. SEC Georgia outlasted Texas 22-19 in overtime. The Big 12, Arizona State, we experts picked them last in the Big 12. All they did was win the championship, beating Iowa State soundly 45-13. They'll be in the playoffs. Oregon, number 1 all season, it seems like, won the Big 10, outscoring Penn State 45-37. Atlantic Coast Conference, this is a key game that had a lot of impact on the college football playoffs. Clemson, 18th ranked, came back, beat SMU 34-31 after SMU made a big comeback. Clemson goes on to the playoffs, and SMU made it too. Story on that as well. American Athletic Conference, the Black Knights of Army rolled over Tulane 35-14, and in the Mountain West on the blue turf, Boise State, 10th ranked, beat UNLV 21-7 as they move on to the playoffs. Now, here's the 12-team lineup for the CFP playoffs, beginning with the first round on-campus games Friday, December 20th and Saturday the 21st. It begins Friday evening, 7 p.m. at Notre Dame Stadium as Indiana, number 10, plays number 7 Notre Dame, 7 p.m. on ESPN. That's Friday. Saturday, December 21st, number 11 SMU at number 6 Penn State, 11 a.m. on TNT. Another TNT game coming up at 3 o'clock, number 12 Clemson against number 5 Texas. And then that evening, Tennessee, 9th ranked against number 8 Ohio State, 7 p.m. on ABC. There are 47 bowl games, including the college football playoffs. The SEC, by the way, had 13 of its 16 league teams bowl eligible. OU will meet Navy in the Lockheed Martin Armed Forces Bowl in Fort Worth, Texas, Friday, December 27th at 11 a.m. kickoff on ESPN. Arkansas will play in the 66th Liberty Bowl in Memphis. That's on the same day versus the Big 12's Texas Tech, 6 p.m. kickoff also on ESPN. Now let's look at our Tulsa World Hot Topics this week. We start with the final college football AP Top 25 poll for this season. Oregon, unanimous number 1. They got all 62 first-place votes at the end of the season, followed by Georgia, up 3 spots after its overtime win against Texas in the SEC game. Notre Dame moved to 3rd. Texas fell from number 2 to number 4, followed by Big Ten runner-up Penn State. Then Ohio State rounds out the top 5. Let's compare this final AP poll to the preseason poll. Georgia was number 1, then Ohio State, Oregon, Texas, Alabama 5. By the way, OU was ranked 16th, Oklahoma State 17th. Preseason rankings, and boy, we thought those were low at the time. Well, we had new coaches named at both OU and OSU coordinators. The historically bad 3-9 Oklahoma State football season, including 0-9 in Big 12 play, led as expected to some major staff changes. Head coach Mike Gundy, who had to accept a pay cut and restructuring of his own contract by the OSU Board of Regents, fired defensive coordinator Brian Nardo and offensive coordinator Casey Dunn. He just hired veteran defensive coordinator Todd Grantham from the NFL's New Orleans Saints. He also had experience with a college-level SEC coordinator at Florida, Georgia, and Mississippi State. Got a lot of experience. See how that works out. Oklahoma Sooners looking to jumpstart an anemic offense and scored just 11 touchdowns and finished 15 of 16 in the SEC in both scoring and total offense with a 2-6 SEC record. They hired Washington State's young offensive coordinator, Ben Arbuckle. 29 years old, just completed his 2nd season at Washington State, directing an offense that ranked 22nd nationally in yardage, over 440 yards a game, 12th in scoring in the country, 36.8 points a game during the regular season, and the Cougars were 8-4. Arbuckle has joined the OU staff but will not be a play caller in the Sooners Bowl game. His first time to do that will be the 2025 season opener against Illinois State on August 30th. High school football stars across the nation signed national commitment letters last week. Rivals.com ranked the Sooners class 17th overall in the nation with one 5-star. That's the 6'6", 295-pound offensive tackle Michael Fossey from Louisville, Texas. The native of Nigeria was rated the nation's #2 offensive tackle. Fasusi, that's a better say it. OU also had commitments from 12 4-star rated players and 5 3-stars. Oklahoma State's class, meanwhile, was ranked down at 55th. Rival top 5 recruiting classes nationally were #1 Oregon. They had 4 5-stars. Texas had 3 5-stars. They were second. Then Georgia with 2 5-stars. Ohio State had 3 5-stars. They were fourth. Alabama was next with 3 5-stars themselves. Tulsa Ice Holders for the first time hosted the Tahoe Night Monsters, losing both games to BOK Center this past weekend. Lost Saturday 7-2, followed by Sunday afternoon 5-3 defeat. Others now head west to spend Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday this week in Idaho for 3 games versus the Steelheads. Next home games will be Friday, December 20th against Kansas City, then Sunday, December 22nd against the Allen, Texas Americans. I'm Michael Knight with PrepRedzone.com. Was at all the high school football championships last weekend. We'll be there again this weekend. It's a complete wrap-up and some great interviews for you as well. That's next on Oklahoma Sports Scene.
Pitch, Casey lines it down the left field line. Drillers win!
Baseball, fireworks, food, and family, it's all in Tulsa at One Oak Field. Score your Drillers season membership today with plans and prices fit for every fan. Whether you want to catch every game or select nights, we know you will have a great time at the ballpark. We're proud to offer a variety of membership options, so don't wait. Contact a Drillers rep who will personally help you find the right plan for you. It's all in Drillville for 2025.
Tulsa Oilers hockey at the BOK Center. The ultimate experience of hockey and entertainment. Save big on season tickets today. Full season tickets starting as low as $17 per month for all 36 home games. Get your season tickets at TulsaOilers.com. That's TulsaOilers.com. Experience hard-hitting, glove-dropping, pulse-pounding, glass-rattling kind of thrill. Season tickets available now at TulsaOilers.com. That's TulsaOilers.com. This is your town, your team, your Tulsa Oilers hockey.
As the sun rises over eastern Oklahoma, we are devoted to one thing: improving the health of our communities, our home. We are your friends, your neighbors. We are the people of St. Francis.
Well, the first 6 Oklahoma High School Football Championship gold balls were handed out this past week in Edmond, Oklahoma at the University of Central Oklahoma. And our man was there the whole time, Michael Knight. Michael, what a show. Some great football.
Yeah, I mean, the first weekend really delivered. 6 games, and 4 of them were decided by a single point. Obviously, the headliner was Bixby and Owasso, and it lived up to the hype. Going into overtime, Bixby deciding to go for the win, and they get it. Just a phenomenal week of high school football. It's hard looking back. I'm only 48 hours removed from sitting in the press box there at UCO, but it feels like a blur looking back on it. But some great football every single day.
What a gutsy call from Coach Montgomery, going for 2 points there to end that game right then.
Yeah, and I think that they knew that that's what exactly they were going to do. When they found out that Owasso was going to have the ball first, they knew if they scored, they were going to try to score and go for 2 and go for the win. Cooper Parker, their two-way star, he's known as being a running quarterback. He comes in, he takes the snap, he goes up the middle, and it's just completely stuffed. Owasso has it sniffed out, except he bounces it to the outside, and there's nothing but daylight there. He runs it in, and it's pandemonium on the field. You feel for Owasso just because they're inches away from a perfect season, but instead it's Bixby continuing the dynasty. 7 consecutive state championships. Wow. 10 in the last 11 years. I mentioned it on last week's show. What Lauren Montgomery has built at Bixby is one of the best jobs that we've ever seen in Oklahoma, and I'm talking any sport, any level. 10 championships in 11 years is against some great competition along the way is phenomenal.
And Lauren Montgomery's been rewarded, as his players have, with some new incredible facilities, and God knows they needed them at Bixby. There were some terrible facilities for a long time.
Yeah, and look, they were fine for what they were, but there's no doubt over the last decade that Bixby has continued to grow, and really decade plus. Bixby has continued to grow as a community and as a school, and with that, you need to upgrade things. You know, the things that were good for what, you had, 15 years ago, it's not going to work now. Yeah. But we talked with Coach Montgomery after the game on Friday, and you mentioned the gutsy call to go for it on the 2-point conversion, but you got a sense from Montgomery, listening to him talk, that it wasn't that gutsy on the sideline. They were confident in it.
I got to give it up to our coaches. We kicked around a lot of different scenarios, and right there when we scored, they said, hey, let's do it. And then we put the ball in the hands of one of our best players, running behind our best lineman, and man, got it done. So super excited about that. Well, our kids hung in there and kept swinging. There's a lot of ups and downs in the game, but they kept believing and kept battling, and just super proud of our entire program, our kids, our coaches, everybody kind of hanging in there, not only in this game, the entire season.
All right, let's start on Thursday. 8-man football finally showcased in the big stadium at UCO, and how'd that work?
Yeah, Dewar, fireworks right from the start. Laverne took the opening kickoff back for a touchdown. So the 8-man fans were there in the force, and it was fun to watch. But Dewar got it done. They ran for, I believe, close to 400 yards on the ground between the quarterback and the running back. And here's a little blast from the past. The running back for Dewar is the son of Ronell Lewis, who played at Dewar, about 20 years ago, had a good career at OU, played a little bit in the NFL as well. And his son is an absolute force running the football. He had over 30 carries for almost 300 yards. So it was a fun game to watch. And then, Thursday night we went right into one of those one-point games with Lincoln Christian looking for a back-to-back state championship. They're taking on Sulphur. And that was a fantastic game from the start. Lincoln jumping out to an early lead. They look like they're controlling things. Sulphur, Maddox Mobley, I can't say enough good things about this kid. He's just a junior. I mentioned it following the game. I don't think that there are going to be many players coming into the 2025 season that are going to be more motivated than Maddox Mobley. He had a phenomenal game, but he came up just short as Sulphur was trying to do what Bixby did. They scored. They could have tied the game and extended it, possibly send it into overtime, but they go for the 2-point conversion to try to take the lead with a little over a minute to play. They come up short. Lincoln survives and wins a second straight state championship.
Take some of the other games on Friday, Saturday.
Yeah, so Friday it got started with 2A1, the third consecutive year that we saw Washington face off with Millwood. And Washington, once again, walks away with the gold ball. It's phenomenal to see what they've been able to do. 44 consecutive victories.
Wow.
They're going to have a chance to start sniffing. I mean, look, if they go undefeated again next year, they will be right on the doorstep of tying Bixby's record that they set a few years ago for the state's longest winning streak in 11-man football. And they have a freshman at quarterback, so I think they're going to be just fine over the next year or two or three. Friday night, we had the Bixby-Owasso matchup. And then Saturday, the last game of the evening, the last game of the weekend, was Choctaw and Muskogee.
Wow, yeah.
And Choctaw, great storylines on both sides. Muskogee looking for a second consecutive state championship, a perfect season. Choctaw looking for their first state championship since 1960.
Wow.
And this is a program and a team that had been knocking on the door for several years. This was the third state championship appearance in the last 5 years, and they finally got it done. And, look, you see the heartbreak on the teams that lose and the kids that lose and come up short, and it gets you. And it gets me every single time. I've done a lot of these championship games. It gets me every single time. I feel for these kids. But then you also, on the flip side, see just the pure joy. And there was nobody happier than Jake Corbin, the head coach of the Choctaw Yellow Jackets. And we were able to catch up with him following the game. And he had some of the most inspiring words about his program, his team, and his community.
So proud of these kids. They did everything. They make every day showing up a pleasure. We're sad no matter what because it's our last day getting to coach these guys. That team's special. The kids are special. They have giant hearts. They never quit fighting, no matter what. Love that team, love this community, love those guys. I mean, again, people have no idea how hard it is. You try, you fail. You try, you fail. You try, you succeed. Right? And these guys are the toughest kids. You talk about them being little Freddy Kruegers, you just can't kill them. They just keep coming back. Down 21. 7, is that right? 19-7, right at halftime. Never flinch, never blink, never turn on each other. The ultimate fighters, the ultimate champions, absolutely deserving of this. They told them that they were champions when we came into the stadium. Now they get to leave with the trophy.
Yeah, so one game that we didn't talk about was 2A2, Davis and Vian. Davis winning their first state championship in a decade, and Vian, unfortunately for them, the turnovers really cost them in that one. As Davis was able to really dominate the second half and run away with it. A senior running back, Brendan Rawls, the throwback to the fullback type style of running game. He ended with 38 carries. I don't remember how many yards he had, but every single time they took the snap, he was getting the ball, and he was getting 4 yards, 3 yards, 5 yards. He'd be lucky to break a 6-yard run. But he was constantly moving the chains. He was constantly moving the Davis offense down the field. And the Wolves, that's I talked about it on last week's show. Davis is a community that is very football central, and they love their football program. And for them to win a state championship again, you talk about the emotions that come out on the coaches, the players, the parents, the community, the cheerleader. Like, everybody from Davis was fired up to see it. You hate to see it for Vian, but I honestly expect both of those teams to be back in this position again next year, because Davis brings a lot back, Vian brings a lot back. Thinking about some of the other guys that really stood out, here's a familiar name for Bixby people, Presley.
Yeah, wow.
Braden Presley, I think he had 5 or 6 catches for over 100 yards. The touchdown that tied it up in the fourth quarter at 35 apiece, he makes it over the shoulders, and I'm acting like him. I'm just going to play the video anyway. But he made a spectacular catch, and it wasn't just that. It was so many other plays. Bixby, they lost their number 1 receiver earlier in the game. Blake Hogshooter got hurt. He wasn't really able to go. He definitely wasn't 100%. And so they needed other guys to step up, and Braden Presley stepped up. And it's so interesting to see, Chris, how this Bixby program, you talk about the wins, you talk about the championships, but it's the families that have meant so much to this program. Yeah. The Goldsbys, the Presleys, the Rollers. I mean, this program has had so many families, not just a kid, not just a kid or two, but brothers that come through the program. You had Brendan Presley, then you had Braylon Presley, now you have Braden Presley, and he put on a show. And I don't know what it is about the Presley brothers, but they always seem to shine the brightest in those state championship moments.
Mike, you talked last week about the atmosphere, and for these especially small schools, it is the whole community shows up. I'm sure great support. That's been a great time there. Yeah,
going back to Thursday night, the Sulphur Lincoln Christian game. Obviously Lincoln Christian, it's a small private school in Tulsa, so as far as a community, they don't have, it's the school, it's the parents, it's the teachers, it's the administration, all that. But Sulphur absolutely showed out. The homestands were packed. It was a great atmosphere. Both teams having a lot of respect for one another. I talked about Vian. We pulled in Vian Davis was the first game on Saturday, and Davis had a great showing, but we pulled into the parking lot next to a tailgate situation for Vian fans with some chicken, some bologna. This was 11 o'clock in the morning. I told the guys in the press box, I'm like, look, if Vian wins, we might have to move the evening game away from UCO, because they're going to party until there's no tomorrow out in the parking lot. They had already gotten started at 11 a.m. So just a great showing from all these communities. And another reason why having these games at a central location like UCO is the way to go. And we got one more week of it.
Yeah, let's preview this championship coming up. 6 more gold balls to hand out this week.
Yeah, it starts on Thursday. Go through the schedule real quick with Class B2 and Class C. A couple more 8-man championships to be decided there. On Friday, it's all about Class A and Class A1. You have Hooker, a team that I'm very familiar with after driving out to the Panhandle to see them. They're back in the state championship game for the second straight year. They'll take on Rejoice Christian. who is making their first ever appearance in a state championship game. And then the nightcap is Class A Division II. It'll have Woodland, who coincidentally, I think I mentioned this about a month ago. Woodland, technically, they have the enrollment to actually play 8-man football. They're the smallest 11-man football team in the state. They're playing for a state championship. They'll take on Tallahena on Friday night. And then on Saturday, it's the main event. Number 1, Elgin, undefeated, taking on Tuttle, another team that's undefeated.
Yeah, wow.
Those are two teams that I've talked about all season. I can't wait for that game. It's a heavyweight matchup that I think is going to live up to what we saw in the first week. And then the nightcap is Carl Albert against Guthrie, two district rivals meeting coincidentally for the first time ever in a state championship game. Carl Albert, though, the heavy favorite to win a 3rd consecutive gold ball.
You know, it's been a dismal college football season for OU, for OSU, for Tulsa. But thank goodness we had one winning program in the state. University of Central Oklahoma Broncos were the champions of MIAA, went to the NCAA 2 playoffs, and you got a chance to catch up with their coach. No time off for Michael Knight, right?
Yeah, that's right. If you're not tired of listening to me, good, because I'm coming up right after this timeout with Coach Adam Dorrel from UCO.
Thoroughbred season at Remington Park continues into December with plenty of winning primetime action. The final evening of the season will feature horses trying to reach the 2025 Kentucky Derby by competing in the Springboard Mile. Remington Park's top 2-year-old stakes event of the year leads a stakes-filled program. The normal Remington Park Racing Week is Wednesday through Saturday, first race nightly 6:30 p.m. Special Monday and Tuesday racing happens in late November at 2:30 p.m. Visit RemingtonPark.com for all post times, group rates, and dining reservations.
Founded in 1960, Ed Bashira's Formal Wear and Fine Clothing has been dressing gentlemen for over half a century. We are family owned and operated, offering premium brand tuxedos and accessories in our Tulsa store on South Harvard. Bashira's also does made-to-measure suits, sports coats, dress shirts, and slacks, and a top line of sportswear. We do tailoring on-site to assure the perfect fit so you will look your very best for that special occasion. Ed Bashira's Formal Wear and Fine Clothing, an Oklahoma tradition.
December 30th through January 4th, the biggest, loudest, dirtiest New Year's party in Tulsa is back. The 40th running of the Smiley's Racing Products Tulsa Shootout, powered by Nos Energy Drink, is going down at the SageNet Center in Expo Square. 5 days for 1,000 entries, and they're all vying for a shot at hoisting the Golden Driller. They fill the Expo on December 30th and hit the track on December 31st with racing each day through January 4th, starting at 9 a.m. Tickets available at the event. For more information, call 918-838-3777 or log on to TulsaShootout.com.
We're here in Edmond. I'm Michael Knight with Oklahoma Sportscene, standing with UCO head coach Adam Dorrel. Coach, 3rd season as UCO's head coach, and it was a memorable one of the best in recent history here with UCO football. At what point did you realize that this year's team had the chance to, win a conference championship and make a run in the playoffs?
We felt really good coming out of our 8-week training cycle in January, going into spring football. We just felt cohesive. We are bigger, faster, stronger than we ever had been. Obviously we took our mold of guys that we recruited when we got here and then mixed them in with transfers. It just felt like had a pretty good squad. And then after spring football, we felt pretty good, felt really good about our depth. At that point in time, we'd had a transfer quarterback, and, I've done this long enough to know that we knew he was going to be a good player. And, overall, just really after spring football.
Coach, obviously you doing something right. First conference championship, first playoff appearance in a while, and the university rewarded you. Recent contract extension, you're going to be here for a little bit longer. What is it about Edmond? What is it about UCO that's been the right fit for you as a coach?
Yeah, I think there's a couple things. Of everywhere we lived, our family really likes it here the best, number one. There's a lot to do in Edmond. The state of Oklahoma, great people here. And so start with there with my family is very, very happy. And obviously that goes a long way. And then for me, obviously we all can talk about this transfer portal and stuff, but the high school football in the great state of Oklahoma is phenomenal. And I think when I checked going into the season, about 80% of our roster was Oklahoma kids, and it's going to continue to be like that. And, there's still really good football here. A lot of the young men still play multiple sports, which I love. Wrestling's huge. I've always had really good success with wrestlers that turn into college football players, and there's just a lot of great things about it that we can attract those kids here.
we're in between state championship games here in Edmond, and I've said it, for a while now. UCO does such a great job in hosting these championship games, and you can see it that you guys as a university take a lot of pride in having these games here. How important is it to have these games on your home turf? Because there's a lot of kids playing this weekend and next weekend that are going to end up playing college ball here.
Yeah, for sure. I think when we were coming into it, I'd have to get the exact number, but I think it's around 30 young men that we're recruiting or have already offered or have already committed that are going to be playing in the state championship games here. So I think it's huge to have it here. Our players help work it. They really embrace that. The school's generous enough to, since we work it, put back into the nutrition for our players. And so it's a great fit, and it's a lot of fun. And we're able to host recruits coming up next week and get them on campus when this is going. So it's a big deal for our university.
Now, you mentioned the roster and the percentage of Oklahoma kids, and I've said this even before you took over. UCO, it seems like every year, really starting around 2019, 2020, UCO just started raking in Oklahoma kids because there's so much talent. And look, there's when it comes to high school football recruiting, there's a lot of D1 or bust mentality, and there's so much good football in this region at the lower levels, and UCO has really taken advantage of getting those kids that maybe have been on the edge of being a Division I guy. They've ended up here and having success, and one guy in particular, Terrell Davis from Choctaw, a fantastic season this year, record-setting year for him.
Yeah, for sure. He led all divisions in receiving yards, which is very impressive. And, the thing that I've found that I really like, I understand that the young men in this state, they're folks or seniors, and they want to go to school there, but only so many kids can play in the SEC, in the Big 12. And so what I've really found that excited me right away in my first year here, like if a kid can't go play at one of those schools, we're going to have a legitimate shot at getting that kid, because there's just a lot of the kids want to stay in the state so they can still be around their families, and their families can still see them. And what better option than to have something as gorgeous as this in our location and a great education. 15,000 students go to school here, a lot of great majors here. Our forensic science program's #1 in the country, and I've just got a lot of really good things to offer kids.
And when you talk about recruiting in football, you can't talk about it without saying transfer portal. It opened. I don't even know if it's officially open yet, but so many kids have already gone into it. And I think that's another opportunity where you guys, look, I'm not telling you anything you don't already know. No. It's an opportunity to take advantage of those relationships with the kids local that maybe went off to another level, whether it's Division I or another school somewhere else. And maybe it just hasn't worked out, whether it's playing time or whatever it is. And those relationships that you guys have set when they were in high school, it can pay off once they get in the portal, and you can bring them back here to Oklahoma.
Yeah, for sure. The Division I transfer portal opens Monday, but how it works a lot of times is if a young man is interested in us before that portal opens, we get a call from the coach, the high school coach, and just say, hey, be looking for a phone call Monday. And we've had overwhelming response from some kids that are from the state that we recruited, whether it was last year or 2 years ago, that are currently playing Division I schools, that we're expecting phone calls from them on Monday, and we're excited about that because they're really good players. And, again, I think between the school, having what we have here, the facilities, and then the year we have, I really think is going to help us continue to attract some of those guys. But we don't want to rely solely on that. We're still going to work to foster great relationships with the high school coaches and get those kids in here and develop them. I think if you're going to have a consistent, sustainable program, you have to do it with high school guys, and you have to be able to develop them. And, I think our strength staff and our coaching staff does a good job with that.
Yeah, look, I don't know what it's like inside these walls, but I know the next 2 months from now until the first Wednesday in February is going to be chaos in recruiting Oklahoma kids. All right, Coach, so first 2 seasons, you went 11-11. This year exploded with, like I said, one of the best seasons in recent memory. What's next for UCO as you look ahead to 2025?
Well, I think a couple of things. You want to stay consistent, and that's hard in this day and age in college football. And, just because somebody says, well, I should have, 20 starters coming back at 15, that may not always be the case with the transfer portal. So we'll have to see where our roster at. It looks very favorable right now that most of our kids are coming back and play for us next year. We're only losing a couple of starters on offense, a couple starters on defense. So, but just stay consistent, and we want to win the MIAA again next year. And then, my big thing is coming back to my playoff game. It's just showing our staff that we've got to continue to get bigger on the O-line and the D-line. That was something that really stood out in the playoffs, as it got going. We need to be able to match up better at those spots. And so, again, you got to continue to do that through player development and recruiting.
Coach, congratulations on
Thank you.
a great season.
Appreciate
Looking
it.
forward to see what you do in 2025. And full disclosure, we're filming this in between state championship games coming up later tonight. We got the 6A1 title, Bixby and Owasso. I'm sure there's some Spartans and some Rams that are going to be playing on this field, that will be playing on this field for UCO next season. For Coach Dorrel, I'm Michael Knight. We'll be right back on Oklahoma Sports Scene after this break.
Thoroughbred season at Remington Park continues into December with plenty of winning primetime action. The final evening of the season will feature horses trying to reach the 2025 Kentucky Derby by competing in the Springboard Mile. Remington Park's top 2-year-old stakes event of the year leads a stakes-filled program. The normal Remington Park Racing Week is Wednesday through Saturday, first race nightly 6:30 p.m. Special Monday and Tuesday racing happens in late November at 2:30 p.m. Visit RemingtonPark.com for all post times, group rates, and dining reservations.
This holiday season, experience the magic of Midtown Tulsa's indoor winter wonderland at the Wee Street Ice Center, December 13th to January 5th. Skate on the best indoor ice in Tulsa, ride the enchanting train, and experience snow indoors that'll leave you feeling like you're in a winter fairy tale. Kids will love Pictures with Santa, plus special holiday activities. Don't miss out on the season's best family fun. For a full list of activities and times, visit WeStreetIceCenter.com, where every day is a snow day.
Around the clock, throughout eastern Oklahoma, we are devoted to one thing: improving the health of our communities, our home. We are your friends, your neighbors. We are the people of St. Francis.
We're back on Oklahoma Sports Senior when we begin the 2025 high school football season next August. We're going to have 3 new coaches in the big 6A1 most powerful unit schools in this area. Broken Arrow dismissed their football coach. Meanwhile, Jenks and Union had their coaches retire. Here's one on right here. Kirk Frederick, leading Union as the winningest coach of all time at the high school there. Kirk, why was this the right time?
It's you get to a point where you feel like that. Kind of go through this phase about 3 times. If you stay somewhere long enough, you're like, all right, what else can I do? What can I do to impact this program? And I've had this class of kids come through. My son was a senior. Just felt like I was at a point where, it was time for maybe somebody different to step in and do something. And we had really, and I say we, my family, my wife, my kids, had poured so much into the district. We just felt like it was the right time to step away, and had a great opportunity to see this class of kids come through, and just felt like it was the right time.
18 seasons, head football coach at Union High School, but much longer than that with the school system here.
Yeah, at one time I was at Union as an assistant coach.
Right, yeah.
And so to take the second tour for 18 years is pretty good. So Union has been a good place for me, and so many blessings over the years. And again, just couldn't be more thankful and grateful for the opportunity I had.
An incredible record, 190 victories, only 41 defeats. And this past July, much deserved, well earned, his spot in the Coaches Hall of Fame. Congratulations, Coach.
Oh, thank you. That was a really neat deal. It was, you always think when you're a young coach coming up, you see some of the older guys in the profession and guys that are named in the Hall of Fame, and you see your name next to that. It's very humbling to think about, and so many coaches along the years, and so many players that have really helped me be successful. And but it was really a special occasion to be named into the Hall of Fame.
Kirk Frederick, the retiring football coach, at the Union High School. And Kirk, looking at some of the past year, you actually were played, of course, at TU. I played football at the University of Tulsa.
I did, yeah. I guess I've spent most of my life here in the Tulsa area and playing for University of Tulsa. I got to.
What coach was that under?
I got Don Morton.
Okay.
I also had George Henshaw and then David Rader, Coach Rader.
You went through a lot of them.
I went through. I had 5 position coaches, so maybe it made me earn my keep every year, every spring with the new position coach.
Then 1993 came back to Union as an assistant coach, but before that you were talking about you had a job at Stillwater, one of the Wausau, then came back to Union.
Yeah, I got my first job as a head coach at Stillwater High School. Spent 4 years there and had a great experience with that group, and really a lot of fond memories of being at Stillwater. And then went to Wausau for a year, and after that, the Union job, they had an opening, and took that job, and the rest is history. We were able to, like I said, spend 18 years there and had a lot of success.
That one season at Wausau, 2006, though, took them to the state semifinals.
Yeah, at Wausau, it was a really special time. We, I believe it was the first time they'd been in the semifinals since 1982. So, really special run with a lot of great people there in Wausau, and it was kind of a fast 8 months there. You know, you never take a job intending it to be that way, but it was a great experience. Could have stayed at Wausau for a long time, and it just didn't work out that way.
Then back to Union, 2007, 5 state championships, 5 runner-ups. Which ones do you remember most?
Oh gosh, every one of them has their own story. I tell people all the time, it's kind of like if you have a pet or you have a dog. You know, you name them all. You always have all these special memories. Every season has its own memories that go with it. But you know, winning those championships, and as a coach, you're in this, you kind of remember the losses probably more than you do the wins. But you know, they all were really really special times, and really enjoyed it.
So many special players. Guys went on to Division I college football, and great success there as well. But Kirk, I've always been so impressed at Union with what a tight bond there is with the players and the school.
Yeah, it's definitely a neat culture there, a unique place to be, and you know, it's one of those things that people talk about. Hey, unless you're there, you don't really you know, understand it, and it really is one of those places. And the community and the amount of support that you get from the administration and the players that come through, the parents, it's really been a unique place.
You had such an impact on the high school kids, on the school, but on facilities at Union. What a legacy that is to leave that kind of football stadium, facilities you have there.
Yeah, it's you know, one of the things that was interesting. I was thinking about this the other day when we first got there. The turf was installed wrong. I mean, it's you know, you have the big crown, and they fought that turf and the way it was. So get the turf replaced a few times, and then to have the big stadium built and be a part of that process. When I was at Stillwater, we did a big planning on trying to build a stadium there, and I left Stillwater before that was built, and so now that's there. And then at Wausau, even in that short time, they were talking about the end zone facility, and I left and wasn't able to experience that one. So this one was pretty special to go through that 3-year process of having that stadium built, and kind of having to be able to make some decision on some things that'll help kids for a lot of years.
I appreciate the elevator and the 2 bathrooms in the press box. That's good.
Yeah, no doubt about that.
JT, you're starting to be awful proud of him, had a heck of a career. What's next for him?
You know, he's going through the recruiting process right now, and feels like that he wants to play football and continue to do that, and we're going to support him with that. And you know, who knows, with the way recruiting is and college football is right now, you really don't know how that landscape's going to lay out. And it'll probably be later than sooner, but a lot of those decisions are made in January leading up to February.
How much is the portal in college hurt high school recruiting?
You know, it's yeah, it's been difficult. I don't want to get on a soapbox by any means, but and I can't blame college coaches. You know, if you can get a 20-year-old kid that's more developed, I understand choosing that 20-year-old over an 18-year-old, but it has drastically changed the recruiting process and how kids are getting opportunities out of high school.
What are your plans now? I understand you do want to get eventually back into coaching.
I do want to coach again. I've got a passion for it, and you know, I don't know what that looks like right now, but I love the game. I love what the game could do for people and for kids, and I'm looking forward to whatever that situation is. Could be anything, but I want to be able to help kids and want to use football to do that.
Well, I really enjoyed, Coach, working with you over the years, doing some play-by-play for you guys.
Absolutely.
Enjoyed that. But also, my wife, Becky, one of the things she always did for Kirk.
Oh, wow.
There's your bag of chocolate chip cookies.
I know exactly what this is.
They're homemade cookies. A lot of victories in that bag, Coach.
Hey, without a doubt, she would always bring these cookies and we'd win those games. So this is really special. Thank you very much.
Again,
Appreciate it,
congratulations.
Becky.
Kirk Frederick, retiring coach at Union High School, but he'll be back, friends. He'll be back. We're going to come back, in fact, and take a look at the final regular season college football game. It's tradition, great tradition. Army-Navy, 125th game between the season service academies. We have the former coach of the Army, Todd Berry, is going to be here to talk about the atmosphere of this incredible game. Army-Navy next on Oklahoma Sports Scene.
Tulsa Oilers hockey at the BOK Center. The ultimate experience of hockey and entertainment. Save big on season tickets today. Full season tickets starting as low as $17 per month for all 36 home games. Get your season tickets at TulsaOilers.com. That's TulsaOilers.com. Experience hard-hitting, glove-dropping, pulse-pounding, glass-rattling kind of thrill. Season tickets available now at TulsaOilers.com. That's TulsaOilers.com. This is your town, your team, your Tulsa Oilers hockey.
Around the clock, throughout eastern Oklahoma, we are devoted to one thing: improving the health of our communities, our home. We are your friends, your neighbors. We are the people of St. Francis.
Our story, it lives in Tulsa, where the spirit of the past lives alongside us and urges us on toward a vibrant future. Because our story is still being written. It's the story of Tulsa, told by the journalists who live it and love it. Whether it's covering our rich history, bringing you the hidden gems of the food scene, or following the action in local sports. And here, in the Tulsa world, is where it comes to life.
It is an American college football classic, Army versus Navy. They first met in football back in 1890, and since then the two military academies have played actually in all of but 10 years, consecutively since 1930. Navy leads the overall series 62-55-7, but Army has won 6 of the last 8, including 2 in a row. 2017 win in 2 overtimes in 2022, and last year 17-11. This Saturday they will play in Landover, Maryland, the 125th edition, at 2 p.m. on CBS. Todd Berry, who was an assistant at TU in 1984 and Oklahoma State in 1985, was the head coach at Army from 2000 to 2003. He talked to me about the emotions of the Army-Navy game.
Yeah, it's interesting. When I first got to Army, and I was, obviously, I think most football coaches, certainly football fans, know that it's a tremendous rivalry, and it's very storied, and it's, the legacies and the history behind it is incredible. But when I first got to Army, I actually tried to get a hold of several old coaches that had coached in the game and several players. And I had, fortunately, an opportunity to kind of talk to those guys leading up to the game because I wanted to be prepared for kind of some of the emotions of it. And, Chris, they would spend 30 minutes telling me about all the emotions, the history, the craziness of the rivalry and the games and all these kind of things. And they always would end up at the very end of 30 minutes telling me about this, saying, I just can't describe it. And that was after 30 minutes of describing it. And quite honestly, that's probably the best way to describe the game and that whole week is anything that I say to you does not do the game justice. I was fortunate to be around and be a part of quite a few big rivalries around the country, but there is nothing like Army-Navy. If a fan out there is a fan of football, it is a must-see game. If they want to have a bucket list item, yeah. Army-Navy's got to be one of them.
Well, they first played back on November 29th of 1890. We mentioned the 125th meeting coming up, and Coach, there are 2 very good football teams. Army, of course, nationally ranked, playing for the AAC championship. Navy also with a good season. Should be a heck of a game.
Yeah, and quite honestly, Chris, if you look back at the history of the game, it's always a good game. But you're right, this one has some special um, things because of just the fact that both teams are having good seasons. But even when teams are not having good seasons, or one team's having a bad one, the other one's having a good one, this game is always close. This is it brings out the best in everyone, and the pageantry of the game, the individuals that are in attendance at the game. I was a part of the game after 9/11, and President Bush, was in attendance at the game. And I think I mentioned this to you last year, but probably, I played college football and got hit quite a few times. I was, an option quarterback, which meant if you weren't getting hit, you weren't doing your job. And probably one of the hardest hits I probably ever took was after the Army Navy game, and we had won, and I just get knocked to the ground, and I'm like, who in the world is tackling the head coach at Army? And I turn around, and it's General Schwarzkopf. And he has tackled me from behind right at the end of the game, put me to the ground. And again, just the emotions that it brings out in people, and the pride that not just the academies feel, but, Army and Navy. And quite honestly, I think all the services get a big kick out of that game.
That was 2001. You beat the Navy 26-17. Most recently, it's been good for the Army coach. They've won 6 of the last 8. They won the last 2, and you mentioned those close games. 2022, it was Army beating Navy 2017, 2 overtimes. Last year, Army winning 17-11. So really been very competitive.
Right, Navy was having a bad season last year, and it's a competitive game. Yeah, Jeff Monken has done just an incredible job there at Army. He's a dear friend. Can't say enough about the pride, quite honestly, that, again, if you've been a part of that game, I'm always going to be an Army fan, and the pride that you feel about winning, and Jeff's done a phenomenal job there.
Overall series, Navy still leads that series, 62, 55, and 7. Mentioned Army's been dominant of late, though, winning that 6 of 8. Coach, what do you expect when they meet for the 125th time?
Well, again, there's going to be unbelievable emotions, and anytime as a football coach, you learn that, emotions can lead to some really big surprises in a game. Players play above their level sometimes, and sometimes, quite honestly, they can't handle the emotions as well, and they don't play as well. I was always concerned more about my seniors than anything going into that game. Those are called firsties at West Point. And I was always concerned more about them at that point in time because, for most of them, this will be their last football game they'll ever play. This will be the last time they don the pads. It'll be the last time that they ever have a chance to experience that team unity that comes with playing football. And even though they're going to get some of that in the Army, the reality of it is there's a special bond when you're with somebody for 4 years and you've done the things that they've done there at the academies. But again, I was always interested to kind of watch my seniors early in the game to see how they were playing, quite honestly, because some of them were so emotional that they were kind of having out-of-body experiences, and there were others that were settled into the game. And I think that's always a big key in the game, is which group of seniors plays the best. Most of the time, the academies are dominated by their seniors, by their senior class. And whoever gets off to a good start and handles the emotions and all that kind of stuff tends to have an upper hand in this game.
Todd Berry, former head coach of the U.S. Military Academy back in the early 2000s. And then, of course, most recently, just retired as the executive director of the American Football Coaches Association. You had that job since 2016. And you've seen, David, in your period, a lot of changes. And just before I let you go, I got to get your comments. This was signing day past week, and the portal opens on the 10th. And things have really changed in this game, haven't they?
Yeah, it's insanity, Chris. I mean, it's, and unfortunately, all these, I was a part of a lot of these committee meetings. You and I've talked about this multiple times, and I sat in on those meetings. I was the only coach in the room representing the coaches. All the rest of them are ADs and commissioners and NCAA people and lawyers and so on. And, I get so frustrated all the time hearing, well, the unintended consequences. And unintended consequences mean that you didn't know that it was going to happen. I mean, everything that's happened to college football, these are all the rational outcomes. We told them, in its infancy, 8 years ago, when they decided to open the portal and give NIL money. I mean, even to this day, 4 years ago, I remember sitting in a meeting, someone saying that, a good player is maybe going to get $10,000 in internet money and all that other kind of stuff. When that's just absurd. You've let the boosters, you've let agents, you've let all these people in the game, and in the process, a good quarterback nowadays is going to cost you $3 million a year. I mean, that's for a great one, $1 million for a good one. And that's not what college athletics is about. That's not what this whole thing was supposed to be. This is no longer about a kid being able to capture his name, image, and likeness. And those deals are just getting bigger and bigger because, again, all this is so competitive. The sport is so competitive. Boosters want you to win. Your university wants you to win. And it takes good players to win. And that's going to cost you a lot of money.
Well, Todd, it's not your problem anymore. Enjoy your retirement. And you
can tell I got excited about it, right? Whenever. Yeah. Oh, it's so frustrating.
Well, I know you got some travel planned with your wife, Lisa, and well-deserved time finally, Coach. You've done so much for this a great game of college football. Wish you the very best and have a great holiday season.
I appreciate it, Chris. Same to you. Thank you.
Of course, one last thing.
Go Army, beat Navy.
Have to say it. Thanks, Coach. Get right back with more Oklahoma Sports Scene. And we have this timeout.
The Wee Street Ice Center, the coolest place in town, is the only place you can skate like the pros. With 2 rinks, there's always time to strap on the blades and hit the ice. The Wee Street Ice Center at 43rd and Yale is your family fun destination. Try out the game simulator rooms or hit the arcade. When you get hungry, grab a bite at Puck's Sports Bar and Grill with delicious food, great drink specials, and more. It's Midtown Tulsa's coolest entertainment center. Wee Street Ice Center, the coolest place in town. Come get your skate on.
Get ready, Tulsa. January 13th to the 18th, the chase for the Golden Driller is back at the SageNet Center at Expo Square with the 39th Annual Chili Bowl Nationals powered by NOS Energy Drink. The biggest names, the toughest race, and they're all fighting for the sweetest victory of all to hoist the Golden Driller in victory lane. Monday and Tuesday reserved seats are available by calling 918-838-3777. Can only make it for Saturday night. The General Admission Pit Pass never sells out. For more info, log on to chilibowl.com.
Founded in 1960, Ed Bashira's Formal Wear and Fine Clothing has been dressing gentlemen for over half a century. We are family-owned and operated, offering premium brand tuxedos and accessories in our Tulsa store on South Harvard. Bashira's also does made-to-measure suits, sports coats, dress shirts, and slacks, and a top line of sportswear. We do tailoring on-site to assure the perfect fit, so you will look your very best for that special occasion. Ed Bashira's Formal Wear and Fine Clothing, an Oklahoma tradition.
The Remington Park Casino is always open for jackpot gaming. The winning action never ends. Enjoy great food and drinks in the Bricktown Brewery, open daily at 11 a.m. Simulcast racing is offered every day, featuring North America's best tracks. Visit the Club Remington desk for player card membership and begin earning points and rewards. The jackpots are always flowing. The next one could be yours at Remington Park. The Remington Park Thoroughbred season wraps up with Springboard Mile Night on Friday, December 13th. We'll have a look at major contenders in the big races in just a moment. But first, a quick look back to a week ago at Churchill Downs, where a couple of Oklahoma Derby horses fared very well. The Grade 2 Clark at Churchill turned into a stretch battle between 2022 Oklahoma Derby winner Rattle and Roll and this year's Oklahoma Derby victor, Most Wanted. The veteran Rattle and Roll edged away late for the victory. Oklahoma Derby alums continue to prove the richest Remington Park race produces quality runners. Race on, top of the stretch, and the Clever Trevor. It's Dominant Spirit there by length. Now to Springboard Night. We've shown you the local stakes winners over the last few weeks going to the big race, but need to point out Dominant Spirit. He was second in the Clever Trevor Stakes on October 25th, leading in the stretch before giving away eventually to Jolly Samurai, missing by only a half length. In the springboard, Speed King is the 7-2 morning line favorite after breaking his maiden impressively at Churchill Downs in early November. Speed King is trained by Remington Park regular Ron Moquette. In the Jeffrey Hawk Memorial, Millionaire Silver Prospector is the morning line favorite at 5-2 odds from the barn of Hall of Fame trainer Steve Asmussen. Silver Prospector has won twice this season, going 1 mile at Remington Park. The Hawk will stretch him out an extra 70 yards. Also, keep an eye out for Mazuma, who was very tough in winning recently in a stakes quality event here on November 23rd. Last but not least, the Toby Keith Stakes, formerly the Trapeze. It's the top 2-year-old stakes of the season for fillies. Glee is the even money morning line favorite for the 1 mile race. She was superb in winning the E.L. Gaylord Stakes here on September 29th by more than 15 lengths. The schedule for the final 3 nights of the season look like this: Wednesday through Friday, December 11th through the 13th. Racing begins on Wednesday and Thursday at 6:30 p.m. Then on Springboard Mile Night, Friday, December 13th, the first race is at 5 p.m. In Oklahoma City, at Remington Park, I'm Dale Day. Now back to Sportscene.
Well, this is the final week of the 2024 Thoroughbred racing season at Remington Park. A complete wrap-up next week with Dale Day, including, of course, a look at their premier event for 2-year-olds, the Springboard Mile. We'll come right back with a look at next week's show. Some very special guests straight ahead on Oklahoma Sportscene. Stay with us.
Baseball, fireworks, food, family. It's all in Tulsa at One Oak Field. Score your Drillers season membership today with plans and prices fit for every fan. It's all in Drillville for 2025.
The Remington Park Casino is always open for jackpot gaming. The winning action never ends. Enjoy great food and drinks in the Bricktown Brewery, open daily at 11 a.m. Simulcast racing is offered every day, featuring North America's best tracks. Visit the Club Remington desk for player card membership and begin earning points and rewards. The jackpots are always flowing. The next one could be yours at Remington Park.
The Oklahoma Sports Hall of Fame, home of the Paycom Jim Thorpe Award, is a treasure trove of memorabilia honoring Oklahoma sports legends. For museum hours or to schedule a tour, go to oklahomasportshalloffame.org.
Next week on Oklahoma Sports Scene, Bill Haston, senior sports columnist for Tulsa World, joins us with inside information on what's going on with Mike Gundy and Oklahoma State. We'll have the University of Tulsa's new head football coach, Trey Lamb, interviews with him and hopefully a special guest with that going on. And we'll wrap up the first round of the college football playoffs, as well as having Michael Knight's report on the 6 state championship football games being decided in Edmond and UCO this week. Oklahoma City, the final weekend of the Thoroughbred Race Meet for 2024. And we'll have a rundown and a recap of the big Springboard Mile for the 2-year-olds. And Mick Wilson will join us here to talk about the year-end Tournament of Champions, the state's premier basketball tournament for boys and girls. All that coming up next week on Oklahoma Sports Scene. Until then, as we always remind you, be a good sport.